Thank you. Thank you so much for that introduction. Hello, everybody. I have been to your city several times over the last 5 years and love photographing the streets. I've done mural art. I've walked on the streets, of course, with a local friend who would take me around. And I have an amazing collection of pictures of Baltimore. And yeah, I'm hoping to come back soon someday. So today I'm taking you literally on a safari of the Masai Mara, and I'll end with a few pictures which I've taken at different parts of the world. And I'm going to take you right from the planning stages. I'm going to show you what you should carry, how you should book, what and why you should go with someone. Um, oh, that's me. Is done already. Let's start with planning your trip. When you decide that you want to go on a holiday or take your camera and travel to the wilderness, what would you do? So you initially, of course, start with the destination. Today we are talking about Masai Mara in Kenya, which is one of my favorite reserves. And if you are a, a first-time safari goer, I would highly recommend this park because it is a large concentration of different variety of wildlife in a small area which is wild. If yeah, of course, everybody's heard of Serengeti and other parks, but those are really huge. If you're a first time traveler, go with an experienced person. uh, Go with recommendations of photographers who've been there, check the social media, and of course it all depends on your budget. There is a difference between a private safari and a travel agent. A travel agent is when you go with 15, 20 other people, and their aim is just to show you the animals. So you're not there for photography, and also you don't get to see the wildlife as you should in the wild because as a tour agent would just want you to go and they'll point a lion and say, okay, you've seen the lion, let's move on, let's go to the next animal. And you may have seen it from the back instead of the front. And so they don't spend much time with each of the species and you don't get to enjoy them. Plan well ahead, it's very important. There are the accommodation you go for, they have lodges and camps are amazing. They're in the middle of the reserve, they're inside the reserve. Well as a lot of lodges are outside or on the outskirts, and you're restricted by entry times at the gates. So while you're living inside, you have that additional 30-40 minutes, which makes a huge difference, especially in the mornings and evenings when you're photographing the sunsets and sunrises. Requirements, check if you need visas and vaccines. For example, we from Singapore, when we travel, we do take the yellow fever vaccine. It's a requirement. I don't think it's a requirement for residents of the United States, but I would suggest one should check online if it's needed or not, or have the vaccine anyway. Currency and credit cards. Currency, US dollars is accepted everywhere. Do carry small notes because especially if you're in the wilderness and you want to tip somebody, you want to buy something small from one of the Maasai villages, you may not get change. Logistics, your the person you're traveling with or the travel company who's organized it, they will do it for you. You can fly in, you can drive in, you have both the options. It's a 5 to 6 hour drive or it's a 45-minute flight in, which is really expensive. It's probably half the fare of flying from the US all the way to Kenya. That's the transportation as I was talking to you about. That's the plane you fly in. You see that lion walking on the strip. That's the airstrip. It's a dirt airstrip in the Mara. On the right is what you see are the vehicles I normally use. I don't use the tour vans. I use you'll see these all over the Toyota Land Cruisers. On the top right is used to be my personal vehicle, and scenes like this can happen. I had gone off season once, and it was really hot. So this family of lions came and decided to sit in the shade of my vehicle, which was an amazing experience. And I was fortunate to have somebody sit on the other side who took this photo and then WhatsApped it to me. Accommodation. This is basic accommodation, which is amazing. You do have luxury accommodation also, but it's a proper bed, table. You have an ensuite bathroom. They've got eco showers, so you can get hot and cold water there. Evenings are beautiful. We normally sit around a bonfire and have our drinks, beer, whiskey, whatever we like around it. Food is amazing. We get a good variety of international food. packing before you go, clothing, snacks, and equipment. You must remember you're in the wilderness, so there are no stores down there. There are no shops down there. So I usually carry a couple of pairs of these zip down trousers, which I picked up from Colombia, 5 to 6 t-shirts. And now apparently you've got that special woolly t-shirt that need not be washed every day, but I carry 6, 7 t-shirts because they do have laundry for wash and fold service there. And if it's not the rainy season, you can get that done every day. A hat, a mildly, or I would say medium warm jacket, because mornings and evenings are cool no matter what of the year you go. Of course, your camera, dark glasses. Carry 2 pairs of covered shoes, because open-toed shoes are not a good idea, because you do step out of your vehicle for your meals, which is either on the riverside or hilltop, and you don't know what's crawling around you. So it's always safe to have closed-toe shoes. Your medication is important. Whatever you're personally taking, I also carry fever medication, cold medication, something for my stomach, just in case, because you are eating out, and you can get the bug. Um, One-time use plastic bottles are now banned in all parks. So even though some safari companies give us bottles there to refill, I carry my own. So carry refill bottles, because if that's the case, then the vehicle will have one of those large jerry cans, and every time you run out of water, you can refill from there. And of course, snacks. Sometimes you could be sitting waiting for a sleeping animal, lion or a cat to wake up, and the best thing to do is pick out a beer from the cooler and have your snacks while you're waiting. Okay, so with that, let's head out on a safari. This image I had taken, this was a couple of years ago. Um, Early morning, as you can see, this is in season, in tourist season. So all the hot air balloons are up, and you can see these poor giraffes. They're looking up at them and saying, "Here comes the invasion." And to be honest, it's a great view from up there. I've done it once, but after the first trip, I didn't go up again, because the hot air balloons do distress the animals, especially when they put the burner on. That sound, animals go crazy down there. But yes, seeing the migration from up there, it's a treat to your eyes. This particular image has taken me almost 10 years to take. A lion in the wild, in the right light, looking straight into my camera at the right distance. It's been cropped about 10%, to be honest, but that's about it. It was pretty close to me. It was about, if I'm not wrong, it was about 5 meters away, sitting on sort of a height, at the perfect height of my window level. So it was of the vehicle. So it was like a ground level shot. It was the cover of the Wild Lens magazine, I think a year ago or so, years ago. I usually try and do this if I see an animal, and I can get a vertical shot, what I call a magazine cover shot. I do it because who knows, some magazine may pick it up. This is another male lion. Actually, you can't see it in this image, but it had just stopped raining. So I love the way his fur is down, and it's the color of it after the rain, and it just struck my eye. We were coming back to camp in the evening, and as you can see, the ISO is pretty high, so the light wasn't that great, but I just love this lion, and he made home around our camp. So literally 100 meters away from where we would get out of a vehicle and go into the tents. Another image which made the cover of the Wild Lens magazine. I love the young cubs. So whenever there are cubs, or if I hear on the radio that the cub has been spotted of a cat, I just drop everything and go there. We were following this mother and baby cub for 3 days till we were actually satisfied with what we have. And fortunately, there were I had 4 people with me, and we all enjoyed photographing these two, and we just kept following them. And then I asked everybody if they were satisfied, and they were, and we moved on. We spent 3-4 mornings chasing these two, and it was good fun. Here you go. Morning for the landscape photographers. Mornings are beautiful. Every morning is different. the skies, the animals, what you see. In this case, there were some antelopes, some zebra in the horizon, which I was shooting from the vehicle. And my guide, basically, we have a guide come driver in Mara. That's how it works there. And he says, "Hey, Ranjan, there's something moving." And that was like literally maybe half a mile down in the dark. As you can see, it's black, pitch black down there. The light had not yet hit the ground. And he figured something was moving. So we decided for this particular safari, I did have an off-road driving license. Basically, we didn't have to drive on track. So we went off-road, and we moved further and closer to this group of antelope, which I didn't want to do earlier because I didn't want them to run. I wanted this for this photograph. And guess what we saw? There was a lion sitting there, and it just made a beautiful shot. I just loved it. I had two vehicles for this safari, so my flash was in the second car, because I like to do some remote flash photography if it's possible, and if I don't harm the animals and it's not directly into the eyes. So the guide in that other vehicle knew exactly what I wanted to do, so he drove up ahead and angled the flash down into the ground. And so this has been taken with a remote flash, which is approximately 20 to 25 meters away from the lion, so that as not to hurt the eyes. Another morning shot. At breaking dawn, we saw some dust rising from a distance. And when we came closer, it was this male lion in golden light dragging the remainder of his meal, which he had last night. There he was trying to take it into the shade, but he was going to rest with it. And it was an amazing scene. I'll show you another picture after this. What happened, the story was amazing. But in this particular image, what I liked the fact was the layers that was created with the mist in the background, and the dust was just fitting into the image with the layers behind. Why this is interesting is this. After a while, we realized that there was this jackal which was walking alongside the lion, which is very rare because they are usually thieves, they're scavengers, and the lion, under normal circumstances, would have killed that fellow. But in this case, he was just walking alongside him, and when the lion stopped, he stopped. And we were with them for about an hour, and yes, the jackal did get his share. The lion did leave something, give something to him, bit off and left it there for him to take, which is amazing. It was an amazing friendship in the wild. Um, Lioness and cub early morning again. It was beautiful. The light had come up. The sky was slightly pink, and she was actually upset and roaring at the same time because she couldn't find, or she was calling her pride. And we were with her for a while, and finally, when the pride did respond, we saw them getting together, meeting up, which is really great. But in this picture, I like the fact that it's anger, but at the same time, she's calling out. A rare occurrence. We usually get them lions eating in the morning, but they hunt at night. In this case, what happened was the lioness was sitting on the right, about approximately 100 meters away, and as we humans do, always like to trouble them in the wild. So it was surrounded, literally encircled by these SUVs around it, and so I moved away from there, and we noticed this zebra walking down, and I looked down on the right to see where it's going, because it was a solitary zebra coming down, and we noticed this little mud patch, and I told my driver and guide, I said, you know what, the zebra is coming for a mud bath, and if he goes down there, he's not going to see the lioness because she's surrounded by cars, and that's where the action is going to be. So we drove up, and we just parked about 20-25 meters away from this patch, a little bit ahead where we expected the zebra to basically sit down. It was planned, and it just worked out that the zebra, sure enough, it walked behind my vehicle, went further down, and it lay down and the minute she lay down, that lioness took off from under those vehicles, and I caught the entire scene. And the engine started. By the time they chased and came up, it was all over. But yes, I managed to get this shot, and I quite like it. I have the whole process where it shoots where the zebra is killed, dragged into the bush. Lioness goes to get her cubs. She has 3 cubs. Goes, brings them to feed them. Another shot of the cheetah and the cub. I just loved photographing them. This was another day, beautiful skies, and I've even got a video of them walking out like this, which is I just love, as I said, cubs. And cheetah, in my opinion, is probably amongst one of the most beautiful cats to photograph. The shape of her body is just amazing. Um, Actually, there's a band of five of them. They're solitary animals, but there's a band of five, what we call the band of five brothers, from different mothers. They're there. They've banded together to hunt. They guess they figured out it makes more sense to band together and hunt, and chances of survival are higher. This is more of an eco shot. The black ground is burnt ground, which we humans have burnt. I don't know whether it's right or wrong, but we were told the scientists were had suggested that this be burnt to push the migration back down south, back into Tanzania at the end of the season, and not realizing that I feel personally that you do kill a lot of other organisms, other insects, maybe reptiles in this process, and also the cats, which are usually residents of a particular area of in the wild, have to move down with their food source, because not only does it take the herds that came in, but even the resident herds move with them to a certain point before they come back. These three pups were spotted again by the eagle eye of my guide in the middle of the grassland. I don't know how he does this. And we stopped, we drove a little bit towards them, and we literally had them for 30 seconds before they disappeared into the grass. But yes, I would have loved to spend more time with them. Again, babies, another little baby elephant. This is coming down a hillock, and there was a huge herd of them, but I managed to take this one fellow out and take some individual single shots of it, and it was fun because he was just running around, nodding his head left to right, playing with his trunk. Gave me a lot of good images, a lot of good images. Birds, for the bird photographer, there are lots of birds there. I'm told, I'm not too much of a bird photographer, but I'm told that with patience, if you've got patience and you're there at the right time, there could be 200-300 species of birds around you. This is the secretary bird, what you're seeing, and there's in on top of a tree, and 99% of the nest with young ones, because both the male and female are looking down into the nest. This was one morning, they were there for a little while. I stayed on because I wanted to get a flight shot, which I did get them flying. Why is it called the secretary bird? I'm sure it has a biological name, but the two reasons I was given was, one is the way they walk, the way they stamp with their feet is like they're typing on an old Remington typewriter. Second, what they told me is like they're wearing a uniform, a light gray jacket on a dark gray pair of trousers or a skirt. That's how it gets its name. They are resident wildebeest. Of course, that's what the migration is all about. Millions of these guys come across. They're not given much attention. I never gave them much attention till I went there with the photographer actually from New York, John Isaac, who's my guru. And we went down, and he said, "Hey, let's stop and take some pictures of wildebeest. They're beautiful." I said, "Okay." So for the first time, I stopped with him, and we took these pictures. And yeah, they were going crazy, jumping and dancing all over. I got this one. Cheetahs again, walking through grasslands. As I said, depends on the season when you go. You get different backdrops, you get different habitat fields. So this was another time of the year I went where the grass was tall. It was difficult to basically sight the animals, but when you sighted them, it was a feeling none other which I've had before. And we would follow them and see them hunting, and it just gives you a different feeling altogether. I've been there in the rain where you don't see anybody there, where your cars get stuck, it floods. I've been there in summers, I've been there in winters. It's really beautiful. This was a chase happening between a hyena and the little Thompson's gazelle. It's amazing how much the hyenas have an amazing energy. They could run for miles, and so can these fellows. So this was about a couple of miles into the chase when the two adults came in between the hyena and the baby to protect the baby and distract the hyena, which finally they did. All three lived. The hyena had to give up. but they just ran. These guys just ran and ran, and I managed to get the frame of all three of them here, which was my aim. It took me about 15-20 minutes to get this. This is another cheetah cub, but it's not the same one which you've seen earlier. They're just too cute. They're little fur balls. The survival rate of a cheetah cub is very low because they have no place to hide. They don't climb trees. They don't go into holes. They're open. They hide. The young, they grow up in the bush, so they are the target of predators. The leopards, the lions, the hyena, the jackals at this young age. I've known of a mother cheetah who's lost 3 or 4 litters before finally two or I think it was 2 or 3 of the litter of 6 which survived after I think after 2-3 litters. That's what happened. Again, the same cheetah which was drinking water. Um, just a different frame. I do have the frame with the mother also at the background, and the photographers in my car. Actually, I was doing a workshop and I took this. They have that, and I just decided to be different. I wanted to show that the little fellow has a hand over her head to protect her, um, and at the same time, I wanted to show that the mother is there behind there. Cubs again in the morning. So when we decide that we want to photograph cubs, our aim is to look for them every morning, first thing, because they would usually the adults come back from the hunt at night, and no matter how tired they are, when the children come, they will play with them. And these kids have just woken up, so they're very playful. So you have about an hour or two every morning, and then again an hour or two every evening where the kids are really active, which is the best time to photograph them. I call this the transfer of residence. Even though they're lions, they do go hunting, so they have to leave the young. And what they do is every 2-3 days, they move the young to a safe place so that it's to smell. At when the lions are away, they attack. They can be taken away. But all cats, actually, even the leopard, they all move every few days. Here's the leopard, again doing a transfer of residence. We were very lucky to get this. They're nocturnal, but nowadays times are changing, and it's sad it's happening. But this was in broad daylight. I think it was 9 in the morning when this was happening, which is very rare. But I was happy because in all my years I was wanting to see a leopard carry its baby and walk across, and I got an amazing shot. I got some video. I got some nice pictures. Um, she gave me some amazing time. She was like this out here for almost 45 minutes, walking alongside. So every few minutes we drive across and wait for her to come to us. Little young baboons, they're like little humans playing. Um, there were lots of them. I got adults playing with the baby on the back, but nothing beats the young when they are playful. They're a pure delight to photograph. This particular photograph, actually, I had overexposed it instead of underexposing it because of the color of the baboons, and I managed to be honest, in Photoshop to bring back the color on the face of the baboons. As you can see, it's blown a little out in the background. The little leopard. Again, we were driving close to my camp where I was staying, and we knew that there was a mother and child leopard in the area, and we found them by looking at the human activity around. There were like 15-20 vehicles crowding a little corner of the forest, and I said, you know what, the leopard and baby is in there, and no point going there and disturbing it. There are too many people there. So I told my guy, I said, look, if they're walking, then they have to walk in one direction. And my guide gave me the right direction, where we noticed a gap in the forested patch of the grassland. And I said, you know what, as a photographer, I want to photograph it. I don't want to see it in the bush where you just get to see one ear or a whisker or an eye coming out. So we waited. And while everybody else was like looking for it through and screaming, oh, there you can see it, there you can see it, the ears out, the tails out, and boom, a few minutes later, this little fellow came charging out from one end of the forest in the open area to the other end. We were waiting near the other entrance to the forest. Of course, we gave the distance. So as you can see, I've used the 300 mm f4, which is like a 600 in 35 format. So yeah, I gave it this a distance, and she came straight at the car, and I got this shot. They do this not only when transferring residence, they also do this to when they're punishing the young, either when they're too naughty or if it's too weak and they're, they're changing, going for a long walk or going from one spot to the other spot, changing their place to rest for the day. So in this case, it was the naughty one. You can see the look on the face of the little cub. It says it all. Uh, anybody, we've all had young kids around us, and we know that smile. I wanted to, this is just a 2 second or 3 second clip. I wanted, for those who haven't been out to the wild, to show you what it sounds like in the wild. This is a lion chasing another one out of his territory, and this video was taken handheld from a moving vehicle. So before I could turn away. Yep, so that's it. In Mars are always very different, but this is what a lion roar actually sounds like. The boy, this is the father of the little leopard which you saw earlier. There was one blue-eyed boy, now there are two. He has a cub with blue eyes, must be about 2 years old now. So that's when I last went. I didn't go last year because of COVID. And he was sitting on top, and there was this ditch where you drive through to go to the other side, between the two forested areas where these leopards live. And he's literally, I would say about 4 or 5 meters away from me at eye level. So when we drive, we usually don't stop to do this, because they are wild and they are dangerous. Leopards are the most unpredictable animals. Lions, cheetahs, I can still basically read what they're saying, but a leopard you can never. So as soon as we went there, I just told my guide, look, when you're down there, when he's near me, looking out of my window, stop, give me 5 seconds and drive, which is when I took this picture. What do you do when you have a long lens on your body, which is one always does if you're in the wild? And at this point of time, I was carrying, at this particular time, I was carrying only one body. I had left my second body at camp, and I had only one lens attached. I did have my 4150, but it was too late because these guys were walking towards us, and I didn't expect him to come so close. So I decided to frame him instead of getting some habitat. So I framed him in the corner and created this work of art for myself. The Cape buffaloes look very calm and relaxed, but very dangerous if they want to attack. They're huge. They're again sitting on the burnt patch of land, heading back a part of the the oxpeck. You see a lot of this. They are on the backs of giraffes, and on all the antelopes. You'll see them cleaning the eyes, the nose. Their job is basically to clean them up. And this one was irritating this particular buffalo, but they couldn't do anything about it. But it was an interesting sight. I like the photo. I call this a general and his army. This is at the riverbank. When one says migration, the migration is actually 1.5 to 2.2 million animals, zebras and wildebeest and gazelles and all coming from south up north and then going back. That's the migration. But what the world takes the migration is river crossings. So there's a difference between a river crossing and the migration. So when the migration arrives, but as they're grazing, they're moving up north, and the Mara River meanders. So they have a lot of river crossings which happen, which what we humans go for to photograph and to see. And the rivers do have the Nile crocodiles, which are huge. They can, I've seen the biggest, it must be about 5.5, 6 meters. And every time there's a river crossing, there's action in the water. And so this guy goes down and senses even the slightest of movement in the water, and they run up again. A river crossing can take anywhere between 5 minutes. You could be there I've sat there for 6 hours with maybe 20, 30,000 of the wildebeest behind me and refusing to cross because they saw something in the water. And it could not happen that day. You may have to come back the next day for it if you want to photograph them going across the river. So that's what the migration is all about, is river crossings, to come and see them. A migration or river crossing could last anywhere between, once they start, depending on the size, between a few minutes to 45 minutes to an hour. The big one is, I think, what, 20 or 30,000, and it lasted almost 40 minutes because they were swimming across in shoes across the river. Jumping into the river, this is what happens when they get into the river. Some of them jump, some of them run. Um, and especially when there's a big push from the back, you see a lot of them in the air like this. So it's a great opportunity to photograph. I call this synchronized swimming. This particular image, actually, in the black and white version, won an award. I like the way the bodies, the way they're all coming out like the butterfly stroke, and it literally blends into the wall, the rocks you see on the right. They were coming out. This is another time again at the migration. We were sitting on top of the cliff in our vehicle, and it was dry, so they're kicking up dust. I quite like it. I feel this looks more like a painting. And they were driving right past my vehicle. Yeah, and this was taken with a 4150, so this is probably a 40 shot because they were pretty close to me. I love the fact that the dust was flying up. Uh, Different story that evening when we went back for our shower, it was a nightmare. But yeah, it was a good shot. The hyena, um, probably amongst the most dangerous for the smaller cats and the cheetah. The cheetahs hunt and the hyenas steal. That's how they survive. That's what I say. I personally, they're beautiful. The young are beautiful. The hyenas, they're beautiful animals. I don't like the way they live, but they're scavengers and they have a life to live. It's a part of the circle of life. The zebras, sorry, the giraffes, they are beautiful. They could glide by a vehicle behind you and you wouldn't know that a giraffe is gone. That's how silent they are. But they are beautiful, and they really bring life to the landscape. We were you see, the reason why we drive these SUVs, the Land Cruisers, is because of the river and the water bodies which go across the Mara. Sometimes you have wildlife on the other side, or and some action, or a cheetah chasing something, or a cheetah chase which is about to happen, you know about, on the other side of the river. Now, driving there, if you go exit the gate and enter the next gate from the other side, could take an hour. And to avoid that, we just drive through the river. These vehicles go through the river. There are points where it's not that deep, so it's probably a door height. So it just drives through. And we were driving through one such crossing when this giraffe approached and like looked down at us, and it just made a very interesting photograph. And I was just thinking, what's going through his mind, looking at us? It must be thinking, look at these guys caged in a caged vehicle coming to see us. It took me a long time to start enjoying the zebras. I love the patterns now, the black and white stripes. This image has been taken from the point of view that I wanted to frame it in a canvas and put it up on the wall. But now zebras are among my favorite to photograph. The serval cat is rare to see, um, very small. They live off small rodents, snakes. They're really tiny. They're like literally like a house cat. And why I have actually taken only half the image. I do have the one where you can see the full body, is because there was a lot of disturbance down there. There was a lot of stuff I didn't want. It was just very messy. One, and second is, I wanted to capture what it was doing. It was not only was it smelling the bottom of the tree for markings, it was also scratching and sharpening its nails at the same time. So that's what I've captured in this particular photograph. Again, eye level, we were off-road, we were driving. I'm at a lower level. I mean, this is from, again, using a 300 f4, which is equivalent to a 600. So I managed to get it. Then we drove up closer, and actually this one is a closer shot. We had driven up a little closer to it, and the other four in the vehicle with me have shot the same thing from the roof, standing on the seats from the roof, because they were getting a clear shot without the grass. And in the evening, when we were having our little chat around the fire, this was one photograph which I brought up, and I asked them to show theirs, and we had a little chat about it. And they asked me, said, why didn't you stand up and take the picture? We have a clear shot. And I showed them this picture and I said, now you tell me. And they said, you know what? Yes, you were right, because their shots were at an angle of 45 to 50-degree angle down on the animal. But here you have got it at eye level, and you are looking at the animal as the animal's looking at you. So I want to show in this picture uh, how they see, what's their vision. Since we are going to see them, we are going to see their life, we are seeing their home. So it's their vision what we are seeing. Uh, Again, it's very difficult to do landscapes in open savannas and grasslands. So we had some little bit of cloud cover, which gave me this light and shadow shade lines. So I managed to get these layers. So I was shooting layers after about 10, 15 shots. I was satisfied and I was about to leave, and this line of zebras walked in and made it a perfect shot in my eyes. It made it a wildlife landscape. Uh, Sunset, sunrises, as I said, for the landscape photographer, everyone is different. And again, in this, I was looking at layers, and I was shooting the layers when I realized, oh, I can make this into a sort of a landscape with the sun before the sun goes down. The black rhino is a rare endangered species. When you hear over the radio, a rhino has been spotted in Mara. When I started going to Mara many years ago, we used to see them all over the place. There were, little pockets where the rhinos can be found, and if you wanted to see one, we'd drive to that part of the park. That's no more. This particular rhino lives on the border between Serengeti and Masai Mara, which is Tanzania and Kenya. So it comes in and out. And when we hear that the rhino is visiting Kenya or Masai Mara, we drop everything and drive. It could be 40 minutes from where you are, 45 minutes. We drive to go to see this particular fellow. So this has been taken on one of those days. The stalking leopard. We had just arrived in the Mara and we were heading to camp. It was pouring. Um, and we saw a water buck, which is an antelope. And it was alarmed because it was hitting its front paw down on the ground. So my guide says, something's going to happen. There is a cat somewhere around, and the water buck has sensed it. So we parked and waited. And sure enough, from the bush came out this leopard, and it was stalking the water buck for about 10, 15 minutes. So I rolled down my window because we usually have switch our vehicle. We take the windows off and we put canvas, which can be rolled up to give us more room. So I rolled down the window, pulled my camera out. Fortunately, the camera behaves very well in the rain. I don't have rain covers for it, and I managed to make this shot. You can imagine how hard the rain was coming down, because this is at 1/320th of a second, and you can still see the raindrops. What happened? Okay. Leopard, again, this is on top of one of the large rocks in the evening light, scoping the horizon so that she could decide what she wants to eat or what she wants to get for that evening. They try and hunt at night if they can, and they pull their food up on trees. And I've been lucky enough to see them take the prey up, eat on top, jump down trees. I have lots of pictures. But that's what you normally want when you see a leopard, is on a tree, coming down a tree or going up a tree. One, two, three of them together. This is again close to my camp where I stay. There are three. The one is a mother and two are sub-adults. There's a 1-year-old, 18-month-old, and a mother. All three together. Getting them in a frame in the Mara or anywhere in the wild is impossible usually to get three of them together. But when I saw them, I literally took this and then they went into the forest. Okay. Migration. This is what it does. This is what people want to go and see. They want to see action. They want to see crocodiles get their food. I was lucky. This is a group of topi crossing. I feel sorry for this little young one, but the crocodile got it. And I got the entire series of actions of the grab, the roll, and since the particular animal was not that small, but small, he gulped it in one shot. He threw it up in the air and took it in one shot. This is one of the largest crocodiles I've seen. The mouth alone was about a meter when it opened the mouth. And another unusual friendship, two enemies in the Mara. Usually the cheetahs kill and the hyenas steal. There could be 4 or 5 cheetahs, but if a hyena comes, they'll run because they can really. A hyena, if it attacks a cheetah, it's the end of the cheetah's life because she can't hunt anymore. Any bite on the leg or any form of injury will slow it down, and speed is what it needs to survive. But in this particular case, the cheetahs had got a baby gazelle, and they were eating, and it seems that the other two are having a conversation, and eventually the second one did leave a leg for the hyena, which she gave the hyena in front of the hyena's mouth, and then they just walked away. It was an amazing experience to see this happening. I just found this too cute and very difficult to photograph the warthogs because they're very scared and they're very shy. Then usually see a vehicle 100, 200 meters away, then and they'll run away. They'll lift their little tails up and they'll run into the grassland. So this fellow was going into his hole, which is pretty close to the to where I was, and I managed to get this shot before it went in. The five brothers again in this particular frame. I basically framed what I call the cheetah and cheetah. I created a frame of cheetahs to put the two cheetahs in the middle. The stalking lioness. We were parked and we had some antelope on one side of the vehicle, and this lioness made full use of our vehicle to stalk all the way up close to them. She didn't make it because she didn't have the pride with her to help her, but she got pretty close to them, and all what happened was that we and our vehicle got amazing photographs because she was stalking right around us. Uh, Two male lions were on this elephant close to. I didn't see the hunt. It was close to our camp, but my guide called me one day and said, "Hey, I can hear roaring. There's something happening." And I think it was a day 1 or day 2. We finally found them in the bush, and the elephant was half gone. But these two males were. I was told they were there for like a week or two, feeding on this elephant. I don't know how they brought it down because it wasn't that small. It was a pretty decent sized elephant. The earlier what you saw was the same female around the same time. In this particular frame, the cub had also come. She had gone to drink water, which is near a little water body close to where we were parked. I just loved the frame, so I had to put it in the show today. Another lioness at eye level. I just liked the frame again when I was there, how it entered from one corner and it started the grass enters from the left from that one corner, and it just slowly fills up the frame across diagonally. I just love the frame, so I took it, and yeah, a half-eaten meal being transported to the shade, but the cub is still not done. But even though you can see his belly is full, but he's telling his mom like, "Hey, put it down. I need to eat more." And the mom has decided to move it into the shade before it gets too hot. Meeting of the brothers. Something else which is happening due to us, habitat loss. The three male lions were usually that you have one male looking after a pride. In this case, there were I think 4 or 5 of them, but these three were very close. I was photographing the guy in the middle who was sitting on top of the hillock when I noticed 2 other guys were walking towards him. And at that particular time, I wasn't sure, but I was told that they were like they live in together, but I wasn't sure whether there'd be a fight or what. So I was photographing him, and this happened. They came to greet him out of respect. So that's what my guide told me. So the guy in the middle is probably the senior most and who's the leader of the pack of the herd. But yeah, this sorry pride. And the love which the other younger ones showed him was amazing. And you can make out the other 2 are younger from the color of the mane. Babies are always fun. This little fellow was running under the mother's tusk, under the belly, and I just love this particular frame. As I said, zebras can be interesting. In this case, what happened? They just had the water, and these two were fighting. So if you want to get what I call zebra action of them jumping or playing around with each other, if you see them near a water body drinking water, just go park your vehicle there. Something will happen. Because once they're hydrated, they get very active. Another frame which I love, I think the young one is being punished or screamed at by the mother, but the look on the little one's face is, it's $1,000,000. The smile and the eye, the twinkle in the eye, like, so what? That's what the little one is saying. Young adults playing. For a picture like this, I must have taken at least 700-800 shots. When they start playing, you just focus on one of them and you let it rip. I use the slow shutter. I don't use the high shutter. I use the slow shutter. So, but I don't want to end up with 18 frames a second for a few minutes. So I go for, like, I would say 6 to 7 frames a second. And but still, I ended up with, I think, 700-800 shots before I got this one. Two predators, one frame, the cheetah and the eagle on top. The Marshall's eagle is the largest eagle in Africa, and she hunts from the air, while the cheetah hunts from the ground. Just shows how targeted they are. The cheetahs, uh, warthog is also food for them, but it's difficult to kill because the cheetah's mouth is very small. That's why it goes for gazelle is its favorite food, as well as as easiest, because the gazelle's necks are narrow. It's once they grab it from underneath it on the jug, they grab it and they basically starve it for air. So in this case, the cheetah had already targeted the gazelle, and it was a successful hunt. So she was right next. She literally ran past this warthog, which in my opinion, she could have got because it was a young warthog. But she decided no, she wants to go for the target, which she'd already had in mind. Two scavengers playing for the food. The jackal did manage to pull a little piece of meat out, but the hyena didn't let it get any more. But it was quite interesting. It was like a game they were playing. The bat-eared fox, another very shy animal. So if one is in the wild and you see a bat-eared fox, photograph it before you even try to get close to it to get a better picture. Document it first. So this has taken me again a long time to get a clear shot of a bat-eared fox. Usually they are very far away. Two species, one frame is something I like doing if I can, especially elephants and lions. Usually you don't see them so close to each other. This was taken late morning. The lions are walking towards the shade. The elephants are walking out of the shade into the grassland. This elephant was walking. This was an amazing story that happened, and it was walking, and suddenly the secretary bird flew in and sat down, and they're actually quite far from each other, but it just shows how alert the elephant was. It stopped immediately and looked at the bird, and they had a stare down. So that's what I've captured here, is literally the stare down, the bird looking at the elephant looking at the bird. As I said, the 5 cheetahs had killed a topi, which is an antelope, and this adult hyena came in. My second camera actually was on a beanbag, and I filmed it. I had put it on video mode, so I filmed this entire episode also. And the hyena came charging in, and all 5 cheetahs left. So the one hyena was enough for 5 killer cheetahs. What it's doing is it's marking. The cats or wild animals, they mark the territory as and when they walk past. The cheetah does the same. It marks every tree stump. It's this particular cheetah or these cheetahs see, they leave a scent marking on it to tell the others, like in this case, there were the 5 brothers, that this is where he is. But it also helps as a marker to bring him back home. So if he's really gone for a long walk, or he's gone to the other part of the Mara to hunt, he smells his way back because he's marked his way all the way from where he lives. Um, Again, I call this a cover shot. Leopard sitting at eye level. Hopefully, I'll be able to give it or sell it to some magazine someday in life. But just got an eye level shot, so I decided to get a close up. This was the leopard had got a baby zebra down in the ditch. We heard movement, and we figured it was a leopard because this is leopard territory in another forested area near the water, near the river, because it's all grasslands unless you're close to the river where you have some vegetation. And the leopard is actually bringing a leg up to take it up in this thorny bush where she has her cub. She wants to keep the cub busy while she goes hunting that evening. This is an late evening shot. You can see the ISOs at 1,000, so light actually was pretty bad that evening. And yeah, so it took the leg up. We saw the cub, not photography or photographable, but we saw it jumping around inside the bush. And he left the leg, and I think it was happy. It chewed on it all night while the mother went hunting. A leopard in a tree, which is what everybody wants to do because you see them on the ground, but to see them on the tree and awake is a different story altogether. Yep, this is what I was talking about. Um, this was late evening. It was almost dark. I'm shooting at an ISO of 2000, and I still got a dark image. Of course, modern technology and Photoshop allows me to bring it out, but it was if the original image is really dark, even at f2.8 at ISO 2000, I had to maintain a shutter speed. Actually, I would have preferred a shutter speed of 640, but I had to maintain as high as I could. But getting the leopard down, coming down a tree is a treat. In this case, what happened was when you go to shoot, or when you go with somebody who's been there a few times, will tell you what to do. There were about 5 or 6 vehicles on the other side of this tree where the leopard was sitting on the branch. It was a clear shot. So I went there, I took a couple of pictures, and then I saw the way the tree was slanting at from which angle. Because I knew a leopard was not going to jump down from there. It has to come down the side. And I was the only vehicle here. There was no disturbance, nobody. I was just waiting for it to come down. And I just parked my vehicle, kept my camera ready, focused on the tree trunk, and waited and waited. And 45 minutes later, the leopard came down. I knew it had to come down. It's going to hunt. But as you can see, its belly is not full, it's empty. So it's going to go and hunt. And it came down, and I got the shot. Jumping over the water, the river. It had got a little rabbit on that island. And I think a few minutes later, devoured it and then decided to move on. So I got it jumping over the river. This is what the migration is. This is the zebras of the migration. So you're driving, you can see the path in the wilderness, and you've just got zebras everywhere. So this is the zebra part, millions of them. During the migration, it's a buffet for the cats. The cheetah cannot kill alone, and alone she will not be able to kill an adult wildebeest. But the 5 brothers, when they come together, they do manage it. But this one is looking for a young fellow. She did get it eventually, but the fun part was that she was walking right through them, deciding what she wants to have for lunch. This image was taken when I had gone there in the rains. Usually you don't have any tourists, any photographers around there that time, because you can barely leave camp. Your car just sinks in the mud. So this was very close to my camp where I took this. And I was quite surprised that these little cubs had the strength to swim across literally a rapid level of water flow, and that too against it. Cheetahs playing again this was taken on the burnt area, a different part of Mara, but again, another patch of land that had been burnt. But they were having fun. These are fully adult grown cheetahs. Somehow I feel they don't like water, because it jumped from the rock in the middle and out. It was, there were 5 of them were crossing. So we saw the first one going through, and I told my guide, I said, we really need to go and take pictures from the other side. So we literally bounced the car through another part of the river to the other side and waited for this is the last of the 5 which were crossing. I managed to get there before he came, and I got the shot. 3 young ones challenging the leader of the pride. This is again an interesting shot as the leader walks. He's still the leader. He was the leader at the end of it. They didn't throw him out, but I'm pretty sure this happened 3 years ago. So I'm pretty sure that the oldest of the lot has been thrown out from this bride. And eventually, from the looks of it, even between the other three, there'll only be one with this bride, and the other two will have to leave and look for other brides. It's not complete to take a safari through the Mara till you get a picture of what I call the people who protect. From hunters, they become protectors. They used to live in the wild, off the wild. Now they live in the wild and look after the wild. The Maasai tribe, worth visiting, a must visit when you're there. Again, the tribe, the guy on the left has now become a dear friend of mine. It's the son of the chief. I've been going there for many years, since he was, I think, about 5 or 6 years old. And today he's in the 20s. And the final slide of Mara, basically sunset with the giraffe walking through. I normally try and look for a subject at sunset. And so I've got elephants, giraffes, lions, cheetah, all of them during sunset. And if you're lucky, if you don't find an animal, then we go for one of the typical acacia trees to get the what we call the typical Maasai photograph. Now, as I said, I'll show you some images from other parts of the world which are important. Snub-nosed monkey, which took on the Vietnamese border. It's a military protected area, so we had to get permissions to go there. It's on the border. Critically endangered. There are only 100 to 120 of them alive on Earth. That too in the wild. They're none in captivity. And the DNA is getting diluted because they're inbreeding amongst themselves. But habitat loss and hunting has led to this. This was actually taken in the limestone mountains, very high up, very difficult. Almost I had to climb 3,000 meters, and they live on the canopy. So it's pretty difficult to shoot, and we were lucky. This black rhino was taken in Namibia. We had a water body near the lodge where we were staying, and taken at, I think, past midnight. The lines you see on the body is actually the ripples on the water, which the light has picked up, and the shades you can see on the body, and then the reflection back in the water. So the zebras also go to the bar. I call this at the bar, taken at Tsavo in Kenya. It's another park. It's a great place for a holiday. Sightings are usually only near water bodies because it's very thick. The vegetation inside the main forest is very thick. But this particular water body was fun because all elephants, lions, they all used to come here. And I used to just sit in my coffee shop with my camera and take pictures from there. This cheetah was taken backlit. Cheetah was taken in Madikwe in South Africa. We were actually, before the EM1X from Olympus was launched, we went down there to test the camera and have a look at it before anybody else had a look at it. And this is one of the first or second images I took with that camera. I quite like it. I like the way that it's lit up. And it was slightly later in the morning, because I want to show the spots also. I didn't want a dark, just a golden light. The marine iguana, it's amazing, beautiful animal, the Galapagos Islands. This was, I think, a couple of weeks before COVID was declared. Before I flew into New York from there. I was in Galapagos when it was announced that COVID has hit China and it's now spreading. But the US had not yet gone into lockdown till then. So this was taken on the island of Hispaniola, where the marine iguanas are colored. It's the same species, but depending on what they eat and where they live, the colors on the skin matches. Like, for example, this is another one taken at a different island. And they're fighting, territory fight. They're very territorial. So the males fight, and the intruder was thrown out here. The frigate bird, I found it very interesting. Ready to mate. When they're ready to mate, they blow up their pouch like a balloon. But it's interesting because when they fight, they try and puncture the other fellow's balloon. So this was also in the Galapagos. The brown pelican, she flew in and sat down. We were actually heading to Hispaniola, which is a pristine island from San Cristobal. It's a 4-hour boat ride, speedboat ride. So we were just waiting for the boat to pick us up, and she flew in and sat on one of the rocks in a slightly darker corner. So I underexposed this and managed to get this look of a portrait. Blue-footed booby up in the air. Again, Galapagos Islands. She was fishing, so I managed to get the shot there. The giant turtle, huge. This fellow was huge. In Galapagos again. I don't know how old he was, but he was really old. He was huge. I think he was almost a meter across from the front to the back, the shell. And it was a pleasure seeing them slow, but in the wild, walking slowly, but in the wild. Underwater, the turtle. Sorry, that was the giant tortoise. This is the giant turtle underwater, swimming straight at me. We had gone snorkeling, and when I saw this fellow, I just went down to the base. It was probably about a couple of meters down to hit the bottom of to where we were snorkeling, and he was kicking up sand and swimming. I just like the fact when the fish which comes in and gives it some sort of a frame. This is in Singapore, back home in my backyard. That's a fish. It's called a mud skipper, and as and when the water rises, it jumps up for fresh air. I think it breathes from the air. Another picture I took in Singapore, the blue-tailed bee eater, tossing the bee up in the air. They usually toss it up so that it goes straight in properly into the digestive system. Again, in my backyard, the mangrove forests. This is a mangrove viper. It's got a bluish belly. There are a couple different types. And a tree crab. So this was an interesting story because the crab kept trying to irritate the snake. It went on the other side. And one of my favorite cats in the world, the tiger. This was taken at the Ranthambore forests in India. This tigress is no more, but she was the oldest living tiger in the world. She died at the age of 18. On an average, they live between 10 and 11 and 13 years. This one tigress died at the age of 18, and probably among the most animals, I won't say tigers, but animals in the world. And that's it for the safari. So a little bit of self-promotion before I move on to question and answers. I can be followed on my social media, as you can see on the left. If you want to travel or you want any questions or help in booking, you've got my email address on the left. I'm happy to put you in touch. You're more than welcome to travel with me. As Baltimore Camera Club would like, I would not do it as a business, but while I'm there, I could give you dates I'm there and you can join me. In the middle, what you see is the book which has just been launched. Actually, only a limited edition of a collector series has been launched by my publisher in the Netherlands. It's the world's first artificial intelligence enabled 3D book. I could answer questions on that if you want to know what that means, but it is the first in the world of something like that. Then on the right, what you see is some digital art which I'm doing. This will be launched on the 15th of October in the United States. Mosso Art Gallery in Los Angeles is going to be representing me. And in Europe, it's the largest photography gallery called Gallery Photo Nostrum in Barcelona. So with that, I will stop the screen share and take any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you so much, Ranjan. What I wanted to say, I'll be the first to talk. Okay, so everybody, you can turn on your video and audio. That it's going to be question and answer. So, but I just want to start off by saying, Ranjan,
yep.
Not only are the images just, stunning, amazing, and you included your equipment and settings for us for each image. That was just so generous. But also I was just sort of struck by the storytelling about the behavior of these animals in the wild and stories about them, so that they became sort of like people and follow in the wild. So thank you. I was just quite moved. So that's me.
Thank you, Sandy.
Yeah. So anybody?
Thank you. Yeah. Actually, that's what happens because I've been going back there for almost 2 decades. So I recognize some of them, and
Yeah.
all of them literally you give them names. You give them names.
Yeah. Well, it was just so nice. It's a nice way to tell the story, Ranjan. I mean, it just adds so much to it. So anyway, wanted to open up to everybody else.
Could
Question?
I start with a trivial question? The heat in those places that you go, is it the Baltimore heat, like
Oh no,
one with your shirt, or is it dry heat that you can survive?
to be honest, Ola, it's not hot. I normally go there in. I prefer, of course, I go in December also, which is hot. But the time to go there is July through October, which is the winters over there. So the mornings and evenings in I wouldn't know in Fahrenheit, but in Celsius, the mornings and evenings can drop to anywhere between 5 to 10 degrees Celsius. And in the day, it's lovely. It goes up to about 20 Celsius,
That's
which
great.
is like 60, I think, 65, 70 maximum. So it's great weather. It's great weather. You have to have a jacket. In fact, when you're driving in the morning in those vehicles with the windows open, you actually you got to snuggle yourself in a blanket. It's so cold.
Yes. Now that you mentioned the open windows, I noticed in one of your photos the front window. There was no front window.
Oh, that was my personal vehicle.
I was wondering how safe that was driving among wild animals.
To be honest, you won't believe this. A lot of people don't actually. The wild animals are as scared of you as you are of them. And as long as you are in the vehicle, they take the vehicle as one being. So you are bigger than them. So they won't attack you unless provoked.
Okay.
Interesting.
I'll have pictures later.
Oh, I'm sorry. Kay, I want to call it Kay.
Hi.
Yes, hi. Did you want to say anything? Your story is pretty interesting, Ranjan. I think you'll find this interesting.
Yes, I did, and I love his stories are about each of the photos, watching the animal behavior, which to me was also very important. Ryan, I lived in Kenya for 13 years.
Wow.
So we got to the Mara many, many times on safari. And so it was wonderful to see your pictures. And very frankly, I don't think I got any picture as good as yours. I didn't have a digital camera. I was shooting film. And I didn't, of course, you weren't using a tripod either. I shouldn't imagine, because you'd be just supporting your camera with your arm or the windowsill. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, we for those who carry the big lenses, we give them bean bags, which they can put on the windowsill, and they can put the lenses on the bean bags. There's no room for tripods in those vehicles, or even while shooting. There's no room. There's no room for the tripod. So yeah, it's either handheld or you rest it on a bean bag. I normally, my videos, if I'm taking, I put it on the bean bag for sure. Because I do keep the I normally video what I'm shooting stills off. So I put one camera on the beanbag and switch the video on, and then I shoot the second one handheld.
Nice.
Yeah. But in my Canon days, when I was using the Canon 600 and the Canon 800, I was the beanbag. Without a beanbag, you can't shoot. It's just too heavy.
I was shooting with a 300 millimeter lens and a tele extender.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be very honest, this last 2 years, even though since I moved to Columbus, I've actually shot most of my images with a 8300. That's a 43.
I noticed.
And very rarely have I used a long lens for those images. I have a couple of questions in the chat, which I just see. Want to know more about the snake and the other huge insect? Yeah, that snake was actually, it's poisonous. It's a viper from the viper family. And the other insect is actually a tree climbing crab. So they were playing with each other, and I think the snake was full, so it didn't attempt anything. or
Wait, this is
snakes.
Singapore in your backyard. These are the fun little animals you have in your backyard.
That's all. Actually, that's all we have here. We've got snakes and birds. That's it. And that's too. We've got a couple of birds which come in. Different bird comes in every week, and you have 1,000 photographers chasing them. But that's all we have in our background.
So it's a crab. So you live on the water?
No, I'm in the island. I'm in the middle of the island. So we drive. It's 30 kilo. It's literally 20 miles by 30 miles the entire country. So it's 20 minutes from one point to the other point. And so we have that, and we go to this particular mangrove walk. There's a little walkway through. So when you're walking on the boardwalk through the mangroves, you have these insect snakes and crabs on the side. So yeah, we do that.
If I might jump off of that, I mean, just from the way that you lovingly talk about each one of these animals with precision detail, it sounds like you are a naturalist, a scientist, actually. But do you have you had an interest in science or animals all your life, or?
I've had an interest in animals. I would say animals got my attention around 2001 or 2002. I was actually flying in India that time with a friend of mine who owned the flying school. I said, I want to go up in a plane, and he taught me. After a few simulated lessons, we went up in the air, and we were driving over a green patch, and I asked him, what is this? And he told me it's the Bandhavgarh, which is Central India, forest reserve for tigers. I said, hey, hang on, I want to go see tigers. So next, he organized through the forest department head, he organized a trip for me there. So while I was there, he flew me in, landed me on a strip. And that time I was using a Canon 400 with the kit lens. And for me, that was a huge thing. I'm talking 2002, 3. So I landed there and I saw my first tiger. And that was it. My love for the wild started. And I've been, of course, I've done Kenya before. I went as a tourist I started traveling to Africa in 1993, 94. But that was all tourist. But my real love for animals started early 2000. So I don't read up about them, but I study their behavior. I talk to the guides, to the locals. And so I learn in the field.
So kind of like Ansel Adams used his art to try and preserve what he loved in nature. Have you thought about using all of your photos to try and lobby to try and save these animals from extinction?
I use it. I use WWF uses a lot of my images in the media. So I've been using it. I've been working with them closely with them here in the Far East. I also photograph for them sometimes. So I try and do it that way. But now I've just launched my art image series, which I put on my last show. Those are basically, I'm basically showing the world what's going to happen if we don't look after space now, what's happening on Earth, and how we've, what I've done is I've linked the wildlife to the celestial bodies around us. And if you don't look after what we have, you're going to lose everything. And hopefully some of those proceeds are going to go back into wildlife conservation once the images are released, once those canvases are released. So yeah, I am.
And I don't want to monopolize it, but I think, I used to, what I want to encourage you is to keep doing that, because the whole point is to change your passion into exponential, get a lot of other people passionate about it. I used to be an exhibit guide at the National Aquarium in Baltimore, and it's all about getting people to feel an attachment with the animals so that they'll want to try and preserve it, right? And so I think that your images really beautifully capture the humanity or whatever of the animals. So please keep doing what you're doing.
I will. I do that actually. Everybody who comes on safari to me, I've had people coming back again and again and bringing more people, and they're going back and talking to their various zoos and saying, we need to release these animals into the wild. Okay, unless they have been injured and they can't be released, we need to start working ways and means of sending them back. So yeah, that's happening. I guess it takes, each person does it one at a time. And yeah, I am doing the best I can.
Cool, thank you.
I've got a question. I noticed that in a lot of pictures, you're using a pretty high ISO. Is it because you're using a very high shutter speed? Sometimes you don't, but the ISO is still kind of higher than I would expect.
All those images are taken either earlier in the morning or late in the evening.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I have to, because in the Mara, the minute the sun comes up, say at about 9:30, 10, you could be shooting at 100 ISO at f11 and getting a shutter speed of 1/3000. It's so bright.
Mhm.
You're underexposing images there after that.
Okay. Thank you.
I did have a question for you. How early and how late does your day start when you're out photographing for the day?
I start, personally, I prefer to start pre-sunrise before the sun comes up, which is at about 5:50 or 6 in the morning. We get coffee sent to everyone's room or tent by about, depending on what time they want to wake up. So you start with some coffee and biscuits, and we pack our breakfast and lunch and take it in the car. So we leave at about, yeah, by about 6 we are out, because by 6:15 dawn breaks. You want to be there before the sun comes up. You want to be out there, hopefully try and get an animal at sunrise. So I go that early. We come back, try and do a sunset if we can, unless everybody's too tired and they want to go back. But 99% of the people sitting in my car want to do a sunset. So we do a sunset close to camp, so that as soon as it gets dark, we are back in camp. We are not allowed to drive out in the dark. So it's pretty much a 13, 14-hour day. Breakfast depends on animal movement. If there's a migration river crossing happening, you could have breakfast at 10, 11 in the morning. If there's nothing happening, 9 o'clock, you have breakfast. Lunch, because it's all packed, it's all with us. So we pack lunches, we'll go to a riverside or under a tree, have our lunch. People who love to have beers, we tell them buy the beers at the camp. We've got to put it into a cool box in the car. And yeah, so it's a holiday. It's a holiday and fun time.
And then one last question for you. I know you said a couple times you had like maybe several vehicles out there. How many vehicles y'all normally have out? Shoot?
Depends on the season. I've stopped, I don't like going in season, which is the migration, because you could have 300 to 400 vehicles out there. So I try and go pre-season, which is end July, or I go in October, where the school or the college holidays have ended. So you still have 30, 40 vehicles around, but it's better than having 300 to 400 of them.
And I love your photos, by the way.
Thank you.
Very nice.
They are amazing.
When we were living there, there were not that many tourists. We came in 76.
Right.
So it was really, you almost felt like you had the whole Mara to yourself.
Yeah, that was heaven. Even I've seen it over the last 20 years. And I tell everybody, I said, look, even if it's going to be a once in a lifetime trip, do it yesterday. Don't wait for tomorrow.
Right.
Just do it yesterday, because I don't see the wilderness, or the wildlife may, but I don't see the wilderness surviving. I don't see there's so much construction happening. There's so much habitat loss. The fun of going to see them in the wild is going to become an open zoo very soon. They'll have to start putting up fences and all to keep them there. It's sad, but that's what's going to happen.
What is your observation regarding the droughts that they've had?
It's it has affected the animal movement. It has affected them pretty badly. From what I hear, there's a lot of death in the wilderness because of the droughts. But it's sad. It's sad. It's changed. Migration patterns have changed because of climate change. They've just changed, and they're changing every day. Like for next year, I've started taking. I take, apart from going on holiday myself, taking my own pictures, I do photography safaris, for photo safaris, and I've started doing bookings for July and August next year already, because I feel that the migration patterns are going to change again compared to when they've gone back but they've just gone back. They just started going back. By the middle of October, they'll be back in Tanzania, which means by next year, by July, they'll start coming back into the Mara.
And if I could ask you just two other questions, lens choice, because I know you said one time you only took one lens out, but lens choice is one of the questions. And also, do you guys ever shoot outside of the vehicles?
Shooting outside of the vehicles is not allowed in the Mara. I have shot in South Africa, But when you are having your lunch break or breakfast break where you're sitting outside the vehicle, that's when you can shoot outside the vehicle. Or if you're on the riverside and you've taken a toilet break, because once you're in nature, the nature is your toilet. There are no washrooms. You carry a bottle of water, hand sanitizer, and nature is there. And the bush is your door. So that's it. So that's when you do it. And as far as lens choice is concerned, I'm a believer that whatever lens you have is the best lens, because I've gone on trips with the wide angle lens, and you can create a frame with a wide angle lens. But yes, if you want to get up close, somewhat close, I've done a trip with say a 70-200. 300 mm is great if you can get up to 300 and keep a little converter in your bag. That's an ideal combination. But I'm telling you, as I said, whatever you have in your bag is the best. And I've done a workshop with somebody who's walked in with a 35 mm. That's it. Was he one of the fixed lenses, 35 mm old cameras, and he says, "This is all I have." I said, "Perfect." And we just created sort of habitat-based shots with wildlife in it, and worked out pretty good. Worked out pretty well.
Interesting. Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
Have you had any mishaps? Misadventures?
Touch wood. None so far. I've been lucky. Yeah.
He has all his limbs.
Yes, I've heard of mishap. 2 years ago, there has been a leopard attack in the Mara, but that again has been it's human error. You don't go instigating an animal like a leopard. It's human error. If you're walking on the street with hippos around you, hippo is the largest killer in the African continent. And if they feel scared, they're going to chase you down. So yeah, I have had elephants chase me, but because I wanted them to get my picture. But it's scary. It's scary when you have them close to you.
Yeah.
Scary.
So basically, you feel safe in the vehicles that you drive in?
Oh yeah. Oh, very safe. Very safe.
Okay.
Very, very safe. You see, you're living, and the only concern of safety which I tell my guests who are there, especially I like staying inside the Mara, and the camps are not gated, so they're not fenced. So wildlife is walking. You could be sleeping at night and you'll hear chomp chomp, and so what's that? In the morning, ask me what it is, and I'll say, oh, that must have been the hippo from the river nearby eating grass behind your tent. Or you'll see something breathing very heavy with a little body against your tent. What's that? Could be a lion sleeping right against your tent. That could happen. We've had it happen to some guests. It's happened to me once in all these years, but with the lion. But hippos are a common sight. If you're living near the river, you'll see them coming up and basically be around your tent. And but in the morning when you wake up, they're gone. And you don't leave your tent without a guard. Basically, the Maasai warriors, they will the minute the sun sets, the Maasai, you have to call out for them. They'll come to your thing, then you unzip your tent and you walk with them. So they walk you to and back to the dining area and back to your tent. So you're pretty safe.
Wow.
It's an experience. If you haven't been, for those who haven't been, it's an experience which one should do at least once in a lifetime. And it's an addiction, to be honest.
Yeah.
How much does a trip like that normally cost to go?
Anywhere, it starts at about say $3,500 and for a week, and it goes up to, depending on how deep your pockets are and what level of luxury you want. I would say $3,500 to $5,000 for a week, from a very, very, I would say, a deluxe camp all the way up to luxury.
That's minus the airfares, right?
Minus the airfare, which I believe from New York, I believe it's another 2,000 or 1,800. I don't know if there's a direct flight anymore, but it's about 1,800 from the US via Europe on Lufthansa or KLM.
We'll have to start saving.
Yeah, so
That's not cheap.
it's not cheap. But I tell you that the $3,500 spent for a photographer for that 1 week in Mara is equivalent to maybe 5,000 or 10,000 spent anywhere else in the world on the weekend trips you could take. Maybe it's equivalent to, I would say, traveling for about 3 months taking pictures anywhere else. That's the amount of that's how big your portfolio is going to be. I shoot on an average of, I would say, usable images 500 to 600 a day, out of the couple of thousand I shoot. And even those 500-600, I have to bring them down to 50 because there's so many, and each one of them is so good. So yeah, so you come up with, imagine 400-500 images a day over a 5-day, 6-day period. You come back with a lot of work to do.
Yes, yes. Are there any bugs there? Like when you go to the store, you can be eaten alive. How about Africa?
Not really, because depending on the season, again, if you're in summer, yes, they do have what they call the famous tsetse fly, which travels with the herds. But I use the DEET spray on my clothes. They don't bother me. They haven't bitten me yet. I've got a couple of bites, and that's what causes sleeping sickness, the tsetse fly. But you really need to be bitten. You need to be bitten like 100 of them for that to happen. A couple of bites.
Don't they implant their young in your skin and they kind of grow into like a little ball?
Not really, no. They just, it bites you. It affects you if you've been bitten. Like I know somebody who's been bitten and who's got sleeping sickness. It took him about 5-6 months to get over it, but his legs swelled up, but because he had fallen asleep in the middle of a herd. I blame him 100%. You don't park your car in the middle of a migration and fall asleep. So he fell asleep with his legs up on the dashboard. So he was bitten, and he was wearing shorts. So he was bitten on his leg, and he hadn't no insect repellent. So yeah, but Tanzania is Serengeti is worse than for tsetse flies and Mara.
But Ola, are you asking because you want to take pictures of the insects?
No, I don't like them. I don't like them because oh my God, they're so irritating, especially if you're having breakfast and you've got these flies. They just buzz your ears all morning.
Oh yeah.
You stop your car and you'll have a fly flying around you.
I just hate being bitten.
Yeah, no, they don't. There are no other bugs, and they don't bother you. I keep your arms covered, hands, your legs covered. You're okay.
Okay.
Moving away from bugs. So yes, tell us about the world's first AI 3D book, my friend.
Okay, yeah. Actually, I met this gentleman in a LinkedIn conference, and he was talking about his company was called Floop. So he said, we floop images, and I asked him what is Floop, and he explained to me. He says you convert 2D to 3D on the screen, on your computer screen, and then we print it in a book, on a paper, and you don't need glasses. So I couldn't believe it.
Wow.
And I hadn't seen it till my book came out because I didn't have any samples. He's in Netherlands. And we struck a deal. I sold him my images. He bought the images, and he said, look, I'm going to take exclusivity and I'm going to make this book. And so he printed 50 copies. The paper is really thick because it's a lenticular paper. And
got it. Yeah.
it's handmade. You print and then you stick the lens over it. And so the effect is, it's pretty good. It's like as if you're there in the Mara, you're actually looking at a scene which is out of. It takes you back. It took me when I looked. It was released in Paris. I was in Paris a month ago when we released the book, and when I saw it for the first time, I said, "Wow, I haven't been back this last 1 year, but this has taken me back to the Mara." So yeah, it's an amazing book. He's done 50 copies, we created the collector's edition. I don't know if he's going after that. He told me he wants to do a regular edition also. I don't know when he's going to launch that. But right now he's just doing the collector's editions. He sold a few copies. I know I bought one from him, but he sold a few.
So you picked all the images of the animals jumping or something, right?
Some
yeah.
No, most of them are sitting there. A couple of actually he chose. I sent him 100 images, and he chose 40 to put it to print.
Okay.
So whatever he felt is a good fit with the book, he did that. So I wrote a little story about Mara to start the coffee table book, so that to tell you what the Masai Mara is all about, and then we finished it with the book. It's so it's 40 pages.
Right.
It weighs about a little over 3 kilos. So it's pretty heavy. So you can imagine 40 pages of 3 kilos is pretty heavy for a book.
All that plastic.
Yeah.
All right.
And he's
Great.
used the best thing is we use recycled plastic for the lens.
Okay.
So
Is the
don't-
book expensive? Is it expensive? The
Very
price?
expensive. It's very expensive. Even I told him, I said, look, I know I made money selling you the photographs, but when he sold me the book, he didn't give me a discount. I paid, I paid 350 euros to get that book.
Oh my God.
God.
That's like $500.
Yeah, but you know, I agree, because it takes him, he told me it's all hand done, so it takes him approximately 6 hours to make one book.
Mm.
Hmm.
Where's Roger when you need him? Right, we should hook Roger up with the guy in Netherlands. All of his books in lenticular 3D.
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah, he does prints too. Like if you have family photos, his wedding photos in 3D are amazing. Amazing. It's just fantastic. And those are not expensive. Like I'm having a show in Barcelona, and I'm printing A3 size images for the wall for the show in Barcelona. It's like 60 euros a print. So it's great for showing. It's a great thing.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Thank you so
What's
much
his
for
name?
today. That was great.
Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna end the meeting now. Ranjan, thank you again.
Thank you very much.
Patty.
Thank you
Thank you
very
so
much.
much. Thank you,
Yeah.
everybody.
Mm,
Beautiful.
yes. Thank you so much. All right, everybody, I'm going to end the meeting now.
Don't forget to cut the recorder off, Sandy.
Oh, thank you. See, I need to be reminded, but I did turn it on. So we got this recorded.
All right, bye.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Thank you.